Hi everyone, Natalie here with Rich, Only One United. We're back again. I think everything's happened that we expected, Rich, or not.
Yeah, I think once you get that far into the summer, like with players, I think you sort of always get to a point where you start thinking that if they were going to sign, they'd have probably signed by now. So I think with Batlle, definitely it was. I know people like hold on to hope and things, but I always sort of felt once Barcelona were sort of serious about taking her back, that it was going to be really hard for her to turn that down for, A, obviously they're the best team in the world, but B, obviously family reasons and it's a home and whatnot. Russo, obviously, it was a bit different. It was a bit of a sort of, yeah, is she going to go, is she not? But yeah, I think once it kept sort of dragging on, it probably wasn't a massive surprise to see it announced that she was going because, like you say, if a player wants to stay, then she could have signed the contract when it got put on the table, and obviously she's decided to go and do something different.
Yeah. Hi everyone. Just making sure everyone's aware. This is a show, get interactive, but I want to touch on that one straight away. Boom. Batche, I know you're saying this and that. What I always have consistently said, I thought Honor was more likely to stay than Russo. Just because it's the feeling that I got. And I know that was based on nothing. I know I get where you're coming from. She's from Spain, she's gonna go back. But I always had this feeling that Anna just loves it so much that would be what would keep her. And I think you've even seen in the both of the statements the way Alessia sort of just said, "Oh, fans are gonna miss you, this and that," and then the drawn out nature of them both going in between each other. But then you just seen the way that Honor, I mean, Honor described what it means. When you watch football as a Man United fan, the way that Honor has described it, we're together, we do this, everything is we, and we've grown together, and that's, you know, this connection. That's what it is. And she talks about it. She talks about it. I know I say it, and I can sit here and tell everyone this connection, but she's actually talked about it. Maybe she just talks about it because she hears silly people like me talking about it, but I felt that was genuine. And you know, the I mean, I just want to get straight into it. I felt let down by Alessia Russo. I know people have seen me tweeting about, what happened and, the chats that I had. And I felt like I was, told things that maybe weren't true. And in a way, she's gone because she's the star and, everyone knows Alessia and, she's doing all these deals commercially. That was talked about in that Athletic article, her commercial draw was just everything. And I'm seeing people here go into a rival as a no-no, and I understand where people are coming from. But obviously, what was said was she wasn't offered this money, and then we've heard, well, actually, no, she was offered money, and it was a lot of money. And whereas Honor seems like she's gone back to Barca to win. I'm not saying that Arsenal aren't going to win, but for me, when I look at it on paper, it's very similar. The team is very similar. A lot of things are similar at Man United and Arsenal, but maybe the money was a lot more. And I'm not saying it, but it's like a case of playing people off against each other. You bid me this, I'm going to get that. Or is it a case of, well, Man United and the people that are there, and they're not really bothered about women's football, And I think that's Casey threw that accusation at them. They're not bothered, and I can see an element of that. There are some people there that are probably dragging us down. We know Joel Glazer and all this that's going on isn't helping, but you tell me, Rich, how did you see that play out, the Alessia? Because, like I said, that got him a feeling, to say, oh, I wanted to stay and all this. Well, you had a nice package there, love. Let's not play games. Go on.
I think it's a combination of everything you've just said and basically a roundup of what I wrote on Monday when I put the article out, trying to sort of summarize the whole situation. And I think, like I said at the time, someone said on social media, there's two sides to every story, and then there's the truth. And, it's an old saying, but it sort of is right. Both sides are going to sort of tell their version of the truth, but they're going to tell sort of the extreme version of it to make themselves look like they were in the right and the other party was in the wrong. Did United match the financial offers? Yes. Were they slow in offering those financial offers? Also, yes. So I think with Russo, I mean, the negotiations, they started 18 months ago, which is a long time, and it shows that United, on the football side of things, very much valued her, that, Mark Skinner and Martin Ho and Charlotte Healy and everybody wanted to open those negotiations 18 months ago. And then, like you say, it's for the higher uppers, it's where did that rank in the priority list, in terms of Alessia probably wasn't 18 months ago viewed as maybe the big sort of worldwide sort of well-known name that she is today, because obviously after the Euros, her stature changed a little bit. But yeah, look, finding out what the truth is always difficult in these things. The agents coming out saying there was no what they would class as an acceptable offer till May. United behind the scenes are saying they put an acceptable offer forward in February, straight after the window ended, and maybe the reality is United thought that was an acceptable offer and the agent didn't. The rumours are that Russo is going to be extremely well paid at Arsenal, that even one or two other clubs that showed some interest, not major interest, but some interest, even they balked at the figures that were being thrown around. I think it was a really interesting case because I think it was sort of the first big transfer saga maybe that we've seen, in terms of one that ran and ran and ran for months on end. Once Arsenal put their name out there in January as a team that was interested in her, that was always going to stick until the summer, whether she left or not. But I don't think it'll be the last. I don't think it'll be the last now where we see that kind of media interest, where you see clubs briefing the media or agents briefing the media. Like, I think that was the first time where I've seen a real sort of coordinated brief to nearly every women's football writer for something to go out at the exact time that Russo was obviously announced as leaving United. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's what.
Can I just say though, Rich? It's nothing wrong with briefing football writers, but I think then when you try to play fans don't need briefings. Fans don't give a fuck about a briefing. Let's be serious. I don't give a fuck about what the briefing is or what this and that. I just know. Sorry, I've cut you up, but I don't give a fuck about the briefing. And I think Anton's just said it here. The club didn't realise, Siobhan, I hope I've said your name right. Alessia, childhood fan, didn't conduct herself the way that Honor's done, the way that, people are saying to me, Honor was agreed, this many to, yeah, but she still kept her mouth shut. And that's, I don't know, I feel like there's an element of trying to keep the reputation, trying to show, I'm still the star girl, I'm still great, when really, actually, go get your money, man. Good. Everyone knows football's about money. Like you said, she's going to be one of the highest paid, or, up there. Good for you. Go get that. And like you say, other big clubs, Bullet, whatever. I can't, Bullet, that's not even the word, but, thought no. And United were there matching it. And yeah, they might have done it late, but, like you said, February, that to me is not late. And if you're offering around 350, I don't know if that's how much they offered, but let's talk about it, because she's on more than that now. So for me, if that's what you were offered in February and didn't sign it, then you should have known. They should have known. The club should have said, you're taking the P, let me go and give that money to Honor. And that's what I'm more upset about, that they didn't give that money then to Honor.
Yeah,
Rich, what do you think?
I mean, we had this conversation obviously privately a few days ago. I don't think the money was ever a problem with Honor. I think they could have offered her anything. I think she would have still gone home to Barcelona. I really do. That's my genuine opinion from what I've heard from speaking to people at United, that they sort of always felt she was going to go. And obviously they know a lot better the situation than anybody else. So I don't think it's a case of United necessarily say we value one player higher than the other. I think it was just the business side of it, that the offer they had to match from Arsenal for Russo was higher than the offer they had to match from Barcelona, because I think Barcelona were obviously desperate to get Batlle, but they also knew they kind of had a free run at it in terms of they had that extra bit of advantage in terms of it was Badger's former club, it's a home, and there was always that intention of they wouldn't have to sort of break the bank to get her back there. Whereas with Arsenal, it kind of became like they were so desperate to get her, which was obviously evident in January when they bid, nearly £500,000 to try and sign her on deadline day. That they were absolutely desperate to make her part of their attack. That they went a lot higher in terms of the wage than probably what she's worth is the reality, and that's not a criticism of Russo. There's a lot of players now you talk about in the men's game that go for £100 million, and like they're just not worth that. But I suppose you're worth what somebody's willing to pay for you. But yeah, I don't think it was ever a case that United valued one player higher than the other. I think it was just the business side of things that the offers for Russo were higher than the offers for Batlle.
I just want to touch Joe Budder's comment here. Players are now becoming ungrateful. I don't think they're becoming ungrateful, Joe. I think it's that, like say, clubs are now willing to pay that. And I think we now, as a club, need to be serious in our offers. And I feel like if we're talking around 300, 400, she wasn't worth it. So let's move on. But if we're talking Honor was worth it. So why aren't they paying? They need to get past this kind of just matching Barcelona. They should have doubled Barcelona, really, if they were serious. That's my opinion. I think you need to pay these players what they're worth. And I feel like that's what we're coming to at a point. Listen, it's gone. They're gone. Honor always plays in my heart. Alessia, I feel like I said, I feel like I was played. I was part of this media. And maybe, they saw me as the media because I have a podcast like this. People are watching, drop a like on it, But I just do this for fun, really, because, I want to speak about the women's team. Can't always sit around the pub table and speak. Sometimes you got to do this and listen. I can see you all, and there's faces on this chat that I know I speak to. So me doing a YouTube doesn't mean, oh, Natalie's trying to be a journalist. I mean, I had someone even telling me, someone who works at a football club, you should be a journalist because And I love chatting to agents. I love chatting to you, Rich. I love chatting to coaches, managers, but I don't want to go and find out what this and that is. I just want to know, I suppose, what the truth is eventually. But yeah, I know that people are going to twist their truths and exaggerate their truths. And, sometimes I hear a club side, sometimes I hear a player side, sometimes I hear someone totally different, and they'll say the truth and they're watching from the outside. And that's what this has always been about for me. So for them to sort of try and take that joy and try and, like you said, control it, it just felt very dirty. Felt not how women's football is. Like you said, that was the very first time that we've seen this PR move. You see it all the time in men's football, all the time. But this is the first time in women's football that we've seen it. And I feel like that connection between, like Anna said, the connection that we have is fantastic. That's why I watch women's football, and they played on it and they tried to take advantage, and now it's destroyed sort of for her. And she was always going to get stick going to Arsenal, but the fact that you tried to play something, I don't know, that's what I feel is lost. It's lost. So do you feel that connection is going, Rich? Is it going to go? Because like you said, women's football, everyone always talks about, the fans and the players, they're so together. But now we're seeing these kind of things happening. Are we going to lose that family feel that we have?
Possibly. I mean, I think loyalty in football in general is a sort of overrated commodity in terms of players are always going to look after themselves at the end of the day. And, they value themselves in certain ways, and their agents value them in certain ways. So I don't think Russo grew up a Man United fan and is a Man United fan, and a family of Man United fans. So I'd never dispute that she loves the club, but if she wants to go and do something different, I think you almost have to separate your playing career and your personal sort of feelings. You can be a fan of a club, but still feel like you have to go and do something different for the best of your career. If that, Russo won't be the first, and she won't be the last to leave a club that a player is a fan of. you've got all sorts of loyalties, just in that squad. Leah Galton grew up a Leeds United fan, Millie Turner's a Man City fan. Like, it's business is business, I guess. At the end of the day, you play for a club, you make a living. It's a job. I know it sounds daft because we get caught up in the sports side and the entertainment side, but it's a job. At the end of the day, they're paid to go out and do a job, and I suppose everyone's different as well. Everyone has a different idea of loyalty, and whether that is more important than their career or not. So I don't know if you'll lose it. Players that play for a club will always have a connection with the fans and with the club whilst they're there. But once they move on, like you say, it's business, and Russo goes and does what she wants to do, and that's the decision at the end of the day.
This is what it is, though. It's not about loving the club, but it's about. I felt in the women's game that they respected fans more, and I think after this saga and the way it's happened to me, that they don't. What's your opinion?
What, on agents?
No, just on players and fans and that relation. That I don't know. Maybe it isn't a special bond, but you do.
I think you can still have a relationship. Like whilst players are at the club, I think you'll always have a bond with players, and this is sort of something I've learned at Sheffield United over the years, that players come and go, and when players leave in the summer, you miss them. Of course you do. Like, you work with them every day, you see them every day, but then new players come in and they become part of your family. And I say this, whoever's at Man United by the end of the transfer window, you'll quickly, I'm sure, fall in love with, and form a bond with new signings. That's just always the way. But nobody stays anywhere forever. Every single player at Man United at the moment will leave one day, whether it's they leave for another club, they retire, whatever. Whether it's next year, 5 years, 10 years, players go all the time. Man United squad in 20 years will be completely different to what it is now. So no, I don't think you need to lose it necessarily, but I think you almost have to sometimes separate how you personally feel about a club and realise that it is a job at the end of the day. And if a player feels that it's better for their career to be somewhere else, whether that's the football side of it, the money side of it, whatever, then that's down to them at the end of the day. And if Russo goes and has an incredible season for Arsenal, then she's justified it.
Yeah, you know what? It's not about the Russo. I think Georgia and Siobhan. I hope I said your name right. I think I have actually. It's the way it happened. It's the way it's done. Listen, it is what it is. Let her do what she's doing. Listen, John, saying it. Let's move past. We know that these people that are in the positions are bad. The Glazers, the Joel Glazers, Andy Boyle, the Sam Barnett. There's this new guy. This is what United is. Is United 2.0. But we hope that there's a change, Rich. And is there a change? Come on, tell us what you know. Who are they going for? We want a killer striker. The last time I had you on, there was talk of a killer striker. So are they earmarking killer strikers?
I've always believed genuinely, and I've always said this to you, Nat, that I think United are ambitious in what they want to do, but they want to do it their own way. I don't think they ever helped themselves. Sort of from day one, when they came out with the whole, 5-year plan to win the league or win the Champions League or whatever, I think they were probably they were very naive to come out and say that. I think they probably didn't quite understand what the women's football landscape was like. But yeah, I mean, look, when you put sort of two and two together and read what's out there, and I've heard, the budget's gone up again. By how much, I don't know. The budget goes up every year, and that should be pretty standard. But the budget does get higher every year, which means you can obviously do a little bit more with, in terms of recruitment. But yeah, I mean, look, the story's obviously out there about Carolyn from North Carolina Courage, and I think that's true in terms of they want her. Where that's at, I don't know. You've said to me, apparently not going to happen till maybe January at the end of the NWSL season. Obviously, she's under contract. She's got 18 months left on a deal. She's a very good player. Like she'd command a big fee and a big wage. And obviously, there's not only United that are interested in a player sort of that caliber, but I think it offers a sort of, I don't know what the right word is, but it would offer encouragement if I was a Man United fan to think that was the kind of player that they were looking at. It's not a player, obviously, that's just out of contract, that's a free transfer. It's a player they would have to sort of pay very good money to get. Obviously, there's no guarantee that they get her, but yeah, I mean, look, the thing I always say every summer is you want to end pre-season, you want to end the transfer window in September with a better squad than what you had. If you don't, you failed. If you do, then you turn around and in 3 months' time, people will forget about Russo, people will forget about Batlle. Badge's replacement was probably already in the squad, but
Listen.
yeah, you have to improve all the time. You have to show your commitment and your ambition to, and I said this on the last podcast, before we knew that Russo was leaving, that replacing 10 goals should not be the hardest thing in the world. And
we're ready. We're ready for it. Yes, you know it. Vix is a sweet Carolyn. That'll be the song, mate. That'll be the song. We've got it now. Carolyn,
I did say don't get your hopes up, but
that's the song. We've already got it. And I just want to say, we don't like England. Well, Paula, you might, but I don't. So I won't be cheering any of them. Yeah, and I want them out quick as possible so they can come back for the Champions League. Thank you. But sweet Carolyn, that'll be us, mate. That's what we'll be singing. We've got it. We love her. We're ready. But listen, no one will love her. Yeah, I've seen a lot of Arsenal. You can't. It makes me laugh. Rich, what's your opinion? Because Arsenal were all like, we're going to sign Russo, Man United in the mud. And then Carolyn comes out and they're like, you should sign for Arsenal. It's like you want like you said, replacing 10 goals isn't going to be hard. I mean, she's already got 8 in 12, I think, in the North Carolina, top goal scorer in the NWSL. So for me, the way that she plays as well suits us a lot more. The way I saw her cutting inside, driving into the box, that's the kind of thing that we need. The ball's over the top, Maya doing it. Hey, never felt so good. 1-0. Oh, you see, we're all planning it here. It's a family affair here, so yeah, what do you think when you do see, fans saying stuff that is negative, but Arsenal got Russo. Hopefully we get Caroline. I don't know, Carolyn. Can you see that one being done? Whether it's January or now, can you see her wanting to come? Being that fan favorite, scoring them goals, like you said, getting more than 10 at Man United.
Well, I think you've decided she's coming already. So, yeah, look, you've got to show the commitment to go and do it. Like I said, it's not an easy deal to go and do. It's a player that's under contract. It's a player that is at a club that isn't going to want to lose her. So you have to show like a real ambition to go and do it, which is where it tends to fall down for Man United, on the men's side as well. So yeah, they have to be quick. Because if you're not, these are not players that, in the past where Man United have recruited as they've been growing, they've probably recruited a lot of players, bar maybe someone like Maya last season, for example, where you kind of have a free run at a lot of the players that Man United have been signing. You're not going to get a free run at players like Carolyn because there's going to be other top clubs interested. Like you say, she's the top scorer in one of the top leagues in the world. So you don't get a free run at a player like that. So if you do have issues behind the scenes, and there is issues about, being slow to offer contracts or, open dialogue with agents, they're going to go somewhere else. So, it's all well and good saying you're ambitious and you've got the money and things like that. And I don't dispute that Man United have the money to go and sign a player like Carolyn. I think they do. But you have to have the structure and the organisation behind the scenes to go and do it. And obviously, that's been thrown into question recently with obviously the accusations that they were slow on Russo and they were slow on Batlle. Obviously, the Kira Barry story came out as well. So yeah, they've got to. You got to put your money where your mouth is, and you need a. They need a number 9. That's for definite. They need a striker, but they have to get someone that's better than what they had, or else the fans aren't going to be happy.
Well, with Carolyn, we're ready, and we've got the song, and we've got Brazil flags. We're all Brazilian, yeah. We're ready for it. With Fuso there, all the Brazilians are ready. Anyway, listen, Paula's done a very important question. I'm going to come back to you, Paula. Boom. 1 year extensions / contracts. Mark came out. I had Graham on the show, and he said Mark came out and said they don't really want to do 1 year extensions. They want to do new contracts because we want these players locked down, because I think we've seen with just doing the 1 year extensions what's happened, on a thingy. We need to actually, now they're going into these 1 year extensions, which I think majority of them have been triggered. But we need people like Ladd, Haley, Mary, if we're going to keep her, or but we'll talk about maybe another keeper. I know people are saying Hannah Hampton's going Chelsea. Yes, she is. But talk to us. Man United contracts, players out of contract. What do you know, Rich? Let the people, is there any way that you want to say anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're starting to move away from the sort of option kind of thing. I mean, there was an option in the contract offer that they made to Alessia. I think it was 3 years and an option at the end of it. So it's a handy thing to have, because as long as it's in your favour, that you can, obviously like Mary Earps, for example, this summer, in the speculation about whether she's going to stay or whether she's not, you just, you activate the extension and she's here for another year, and then it's down to you whether, if that interest came, whether they sell her or not, and the ball's in United's court. So, yeah, I mean, I think they're moving on things from what I've been told. I think Aoife will be there next season, no problem. Hayley Ladd, I think, signed a new deal from what I've heard. Hannah Blundell, again, I don't think there's any issue there. So I think those three are, if they've not signed already, then it's pretty imminent. With Mary,
exclusive, everyone. Remember, that's why you come to my show. Go on.
I think with Mary, again, it's one of those, her stature now, obviously, is that she's one of the best goalkeepers in the world, and with that comes interest. So, yeah, you might have that again next year if she decides not to extend. So, again, you've got to show that commitment. You can sign up certain players, but you've got to try and sign up the best in the world. So, if Mary Earps goes, you're in that situation again next year. Where you're talking about with Russo now. They're saying, okay, well, Russo goes, we have to get someone better. If Mary Earps goes, you've got to get someone better, or you've got to get someone that's maybe younger and has the potential to be better. But yeah, I think with Ladd, Mannion, Blundell, I don't think there's any issue from what I've heard in terms of them being at United for season at least.
What I will say with Ladd, Blundell, I'm not sure about Mannion. We'll get into it because we're going to talk about centre backs. But with Ladd, Blundell, and Leah, especially Leah, other people might want to play a part. But anyway, listen, those three I can see retiring at Man United. I don't know what you think, Rich, but I can definitely. They, like we talk about loyalty, that is, from what I'm hearing of Hannah as well, this is it, mate. This is boom. Family, this is it. Boom. Getting married, coming up, this is it. So, yeah. I mean, yeah, she might, we want to upgrade. We want to keep upgrading. But for me, I think she'll always be in and around that, that experience. She's, gone to a final now. She's won things, stuff like that. I can always see those three anyway being here. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, Leah's a funny one because, Leah's one. Yeah, Leah's one of the first people. I don't really know Leah that well these days, but she was one of the first people that I actually ever met covering women's football when she was at Leeds as a kid, and she was a die-hard Leeds United fan. And if you'd said to me 10 years ago that you'd be talking about her retiring at Man United, I probably would have laughed. But yeah, I think I think Leah's at that stage of her career, like when you talk about the England stuff as well. I think just being happy and being content is quite important to her. So it's a weird one. Like obviously she's not young anymore either. Like she, because of the sort of way her career went. Obviously she had a break and sort of dropped out of the game, and so she's had that little period out, and then she's come back. She's found a form, and obviously she's been flying the last couple of years. So yeah, I mean, I think you're pretty safe with someone like Leah, and you have to
I
keep
mean,
that
Leah's
call, like you say. You said you said to me a while back in terms of like why do we add 5 or 6 every summer? Is that too much? But I think that's pretty standard. I mean, look at Chelsea. Chelsea just won the league, won the FA Cup, got to the Champions League semi-finals, beat Lyon, and they're probably adding 5 or 6. So you take into account squad players leave, you lose 1 or 2 key players that you've got to bring 5 or 6 in. So, but yeah, you always need that core, and if you have that core of Leah and Haley and people like that, then that sets you up at the end of the day. Yeah, you're always going to lose. There's always a bit more focus, obviously, depending on the story and the media stuff around it. But look, Chelsea lost 2 key players this year. They lost Magda Eriksson, the captain. They lost Pernille Harder. Harder's one of the best players in the world on a day. Man City for several years have lost their best players for free. Kaz Weir went for free. Georgia Stanway went for free. And I always say it's about how you replace them. And I know it sounds really boring, but it is like, Chelsea go out. Chelsea have that reputation now, and also the money where I don't think fans were worried. Like I don't think there was any panic. There was no sort of mass hysteria from Chelsea fans when Magda and Harder left, because it was like, well, we know we'll replace them, and then boom, straight away in comes Katerina Macario, and that's the advantage Chelsea have because they've been investing in that for 10 years, and they've got to that point where they can go and do it. And I'll say it forever, and I will say it forever about United, that United will always be playing catch up because they only came into it 5 years ago. Even if they'd come into it in 2014 when Man City did, it was such a different landscape in 2014. Man City came in, didn't have a mega squad. It was completely British players pretty much, and after 2 years they'd won the WSL. And with that, you earn that reputation as a top side, as a side that can win trophies. And I think United have done very well for what they're up against as a much newer team than any of their rivals, but they're going to be playing catch up on their squad, on commercial, on media, on everything, because they're younger. So they need to overcompensate, and they need to go out and get these players, the top players. And that
let's say, though, this is what Vix is saying. They're just very good at saying it. And that's what I want to know. United probably have a player. Let's talk about it. Emma Watson has probably signed, and dropping Emma Watson as soon as Russo, it's not going to still wouldn't go down well. But you just said to us 3 players have been announced. If they announced them 3 players right now, then a lot of shit would change. And this is what it is. It's just positioning where it is. Look at my brother Chris. Yeah, they announced that Hannah was leaving. The next day they announced, or within the week, the goalkeeper was announced. So this is what I think the problem is with United. I think you see this meltdown because of the way they play it. And I understand the way they play it, giving everyone their little, my guy, 40, they're drip feeding it. They could easily say now, boom, everyone signed. These are the 3 players, like you just announced, imminent. And that's the problem. I don't think it's United fans, because now I'm starting to see people are saying they know how it goes, they know the thing. But there are a lot of fans, Rich, this is what they don't understand, that coming in now that don't know the way that they've played it. I know the way that it plays because I've watched it since 2018. They do need to get better with engaging their fan base. And, like you said, it's not really a panic at the minute. So why are we panicking? We're panicking because of the way they're showing us, what they show us in the public isn't good. Whereas they could easily switch that, boom, Haley Ladd signed a new deal. Do you think everyone will be happy? This is what I'm saying. This is what they need to do better on. And we're saying it not just about the higher ups, but this is what I'm saying. You should be our media manager because you would do it better. This is what I'm saying.
But you know what? I know this is going to sound really boring, but and you know, I can come at this from working for a football club in terms of when you can do your announcements, but there's a sort like with foreign players, I think it's a bit different. Like I think you've seen obviously all the announcements sort of so far this summer have been the foreign players coming into the league. So your Macarios, you know, your Shokanuskins, people like that, Daphne Van Domselaar. But in England, it's a little bit different. Like obviously, even the story, obviously Tom put out the other day about Gemma Evans, and I know we'll talk about that, but it said 1st of July. So the contracts in England, they all generally expire on the 30th of June. So whether you're leaving or not, like even Alessia Russo, Alessia's contract is until the 30th of June. So another English club can't physically announce her as their player until 1st of July at the minimum. That's the same for Hannah Hampton, who's going to go to Chelsea because her contract doesn't finish until the 30th of June. Chelsea can't do anything technically until she becomes their player on the 1st of July. And it's the same with new contracts. All the contracts, Hayley Ladd, Hannah Blundell, Aoife Mannion, whoever else, their contracts are all to the 30th of June. Their new contracts come into effect 1st of July. There's always been rules over how English teams can approach players in England compared to teams abroad. You know, once you get to January, if you're out of contract, teams abroad, they can start talking to you. Teams in England, you can't start doing it until later in the year. So it's, I know it sounds really boring and like people say United drip feed things and whatnot. I don't actually think they do. I think United actually, when they do it, they do it quite quick fire. Like I think most summers you've seen, you get to sort of mid-July and then it's boom, boom, boom. You know, every single day there's some kind of announcement, and they end up doing all their signings like in the space of 2 weeks and whatnot. So obviously, players from abroad with United, it's a little bit different at the minute because the player that they're looking at are under contract. So it's not as simple as just going, okay, we've signed this player, like Chelsea have been able to do, like Aston Villa have been able to do. So I had people messaging me the other day, when are Arsenal going to announce Russo? Because it's been announced that she's left United. They can't physically do that until July, and Chelsea can't do it with Hampton either. So,
but what I will say is, Rich, they were leaking things long before, and we think we've talked about it on this show. Leaks. So you're the first leak that said, "Look at people coming in. Is Mannion signed?" You're the first person that's telling us, and it shouldn't be on you. They should be doing better, and that's what I'll always say. They should be telling people. It shouldn't take you to come on this podcast and say, X people have signed. They should have been telling. Well, maybe but you know what I'm saying. That's what they should be doing. They should be putting those media things out, briefing the media. Oh, we signed Hayley Ladd and a blah, 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 blah. Just so people know, so people feel secure. But listen, I don't even want to go into this. I want to touch back on that. Boom, Leipzig. Tell us about her, because for me, the number 2 is already in our football club, but she's highly likely to leave, Emily Ramsey. Do you think Batlle going to leave? Do you think they will get another goalkeeper? For me, I think a lot of people are saying, Mary, but I think we need to play it a bit wiser here. If she's not going to sign a contract, we need to be getting her out then, making money on it. We can't be having this kind of thing again and again. And I know this and that, offered this. I don't care what the reason why they left. We can't be having it because we've had it all the time. From Alex Greenwood in 2018, Lauren James, Tobin Heath. We've had it now. It's over. Even Jackie. We need to be tying these people up. So for me, if Mary doesn't want to stay or whatever, or is playing games, if she's not signed, and I say the same for Lucia, we need to be signing these people now. Maya, we need to be signing her now, not tomorrow. Wait, 18 months. I don't care. Get into the negotiations now. And if it's down to Andy Boyle or Sam Burnett or Matt Hargreaves or Matt Judge, or probably it's down to this Joe Glazer, who's the one who has to sign everything off. But we need to stop, being serious. Sign these players, offer them the deals. If we have to wait for whoever World Cup over, but make sure that these, say Carolyn, make sure she's signed that paper that she's confirmed that she's going to come to us. Something. Get shit down on paper, because it's all right going, but we'll leave it to the end. Can't be leaving it to the end. They should have, Hayley Ladd should have been done. Leah should be done. And I just think, I don't know. Talk to me about a keeper then. I can see I'm going to ask about Casca because we're going to midfield. Let's work it through. So we talked about Caroline. back to the keeper. Then we'll go centre back. Then we'll go midfield. Go, Rich.
Yeah, I think there'll be a number two goalkeeper because I think Ramsey will go to Everton permanently. I think with Batlle, I haven't heard anything sort of concrete in terms of where she would go, but I think number two goalkeepers always kind of have a shelf life in terms of when they actually, suddenly decide that, this has been good. I've enjoyed playing for a top club, but I actually want to go and play football. So I think the problem with Leipzig is she wants to be a number one. She doesn't want to come and sit on the bench at a top club. And as far as I'm aware, I think she's staying at Leicester. I don't, from everything I've heard, I don't think anything has changed there. The thing with being a number two goalkeeper is it's so hard because it's the one position that it doesn't really get rotated. Like, you might get a few cup games, but you're not going to be coming off the bench. Do you know what I mean? In a game with half an hour to go, if you're a forward, you probably know you're coming on in most games. Like you say, if you're Lucia Garcia and you're on the bench, you know you're coming on. 9 times out of 10, if you're a goalkeeper, you sat on the bench, you've had it. So it's like you say, it's either finding that experienced goalkeeper that's kind of happy to be a number two at a top club, which we see a lot in the men's game, like especially at the top clubs now. Goalkeepers that just literally sit and earn a wage and they're just there to sort of train and play the odd cup match every now and again. Or you find a young goalkeeper with potential, that if Earps did leave, that can step into that breach. But the young goalkeepers, they want to go and play. So yeah, it wouldn't shock me to see United sign a keeper. Obviously, pending if Batlle does go, I'm 99.9% certain Ramsey will be an Everton player permanently. So yeah, who that will be, I don't actually know. But I think, once it's confirmed that if Batlle gets a move, I mean, the goalkeeping thing's always interesting. Like, there's always a merry-go-round. You always sort of look at who needs what. I don't think there's a huge amount of clubs that need a goalkeeper, or certainly not a starting goalkeeper. Obviously Tottenham are looking at one, but the strong rumour is that Hampton will go there potentially on loan once the World Cup's done and dusted. West Ham have got Mackenzie Arnold. Everton obviously will probably tie up Ramsey. You look at that sort of mid-pack, even Bristol coming up. They've got Fran Bentley. So Liverpool, I think, have got the other Australian goalkeeper coming in. So yeah, you sort of look at it and go, if you're going to leave, like, where are your options? Aston Villa have tied their goalkeeping department down now with Van Domselaar. Maybe Brighton off the top of my head might need a goalkeeper, but yeah, it's hard. Like, starting goalkeeper, there's only one. There's 4 defenders in a team. There's 3-4 midfielders. There's 3 forwards, and yeah, if you're not a starting goalkeeper, it's a tough gig. So actually going out and finding somebody sort of specifically who's happy to be a number 2 for at least a year, because look, if you're at Man United, you are going to be the number 2 because you've got one of the best goalkeepers in the world as your number 1. So it's hard. It's a hard position to fill. But yeah, as far as I was concerned with Leipzig, she wanted to be a number 1, and yeah, as far as I'm aware, she's staying at Leicester.
It's a shame because I think she could be number 1 here. I think, she could look at how Ramsey did it. Brosnan was playing a lot, but then Ramsey came in and took it, and yeah, but it's a shame we move. There'll be other keepers like that around. Listen, we said we're going to move through. I'm not going to do it like more people are joining. If you join in, hit a like. Listen, we're talking about everything. We talked about the ones that have gone. We're on to keepers coming in. We said maybe Mary. I mean, it is concerning. I saw someone say it's concerning the what she's saying. It was concerning what she said at the end of the season for me. What she said about Russo, I watched it a couple of times, and I think it's she just didn't know what to say. That's it. She's my mate. That's it. It's like Tooney did it, but it was more planned, with Tooney. Whereas I think Mary was sort of ad hoc, put on her, and she just sort of said what she said. Mary wants to go, let her go. That's what I think. I think even though, yes, she is one of the best, we can get better. Leipzig would be that one who would, maybe isn't there now, but for me, who knows? This is the one I want to talk about, because this one is the one that you said to me, Rich, come back when at the end of the season, but it's the end of the season now. And I hated it throughout the whole season. I hated how it went, this girl, man. Yeah, she's going. I'm seeing people saying she's going. Listen, I'm going to come back to everyone. I'm going to work through the whole position. So we'll talk about wingers. We're talking about centre backs now because I've seen some names thrown about. You even brought a name up, Gemma Evans. For me, Gemma Evans isn't better than Tukar, and Tukar didn't even play. So, for me, I don't think you can bring in players and not play them. I think he has to do better in that respect. It's not good enough. Luckily the girl has got a chance to prove that she can go to the World Cup, but the way that went down, it's just not being good. I mean, they're talking about Cascarino, I'll get back to her, but centre backs, we do know that Gemma Evans, What do you think? Hey, Hannah, my girl, Lucy Parker, that's who we want. We want Lucy Parker. Gemma Evans, maybe, less so. But go on, talk to us, Rich.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised to see it. Obviously, it kind of came out of the blue, but I know people sort of go OTT when you see a name, obviously that maybe doesn't quite strike that sort of chord of excitement, like a big international player or whatnot. But if Gemma Evans comes in, like, she's not going to go in place of Millie or in place of Maya. Like, I think that defensive partnership's pretty set in stone. They had a good season together. Like, Maya probably slotted in probably better than anybody could have thought. And Tunkara was always signed as a squad player. Like, I know it sounds daft. Obviously, she's an international. She came from a big club, but that's what it was. And I think you said it on Twitter the other day, Nat, that some players said it with the goalkeeping situation. Some players are happier to be a backup than others. Obviously Tunkara is a French international, and is probably looking at her international career and things like that. And she's not going to get in the team, then maybe she's going to have to move on. Whereas with Gemma, she's probably delighted to be at a club like Man United, and that's not to disrespect her, because I haven't seen a whole lot of her for Reading, but when I've watched her for Wales, she's been solid, like unspectacular, but solid. And sometimes you just need players like that, and I know people sort of go mad and think, why are we signing her and whatnot, but you need a squad, and if they've identified her for whatever reason that she's going to come in and be a solid squad player, then so be it. Like, it's
let's say it, Rich.
I said it last summer. Like, Mark and everyone, when they make these signings, they have to live or die by it. They have to. I said it with Rach Williams last year. I said it with Paris, and the signings that fans didn't like. Like,
listen, I think that's changed. Maybe for some people, I stick to my work guns. But anyway, listen, let's not slug off people. Go on.
No, I'm just saying, like, your manager at the end of the day is wholly responsible. They're the ones that have the final say on who comes in and who goes out. So if Gemma comes in, does a job, is pretty solid, in a year's time you turn around and go, yeah, all right, okay, fair enough. And that probably happened with Keats and Rach, to be fair. I thought Keats actually grew quite into it at the end of the season. I thought she was good in the big games against City, against Arsenal. I thought she was pretty lively in the cup final. Rach did what she had to do. She came on in games, she scored some goals, she scored some important goals, to be fair, and that's all it was ever going to be. I said to you last year, she was never going to come in and start games. She was never going to come in and start over Russo or start over Toon. So, yeah, I think Gemma's pretty similar to that. Look, United aren't the only club that do that. Arsenal signing Jodie Taylor till the end of the season. Sometimes you just need a player to.
That was desperation, really. This is what I agree with. I agree with Paul here. You shouldn't be signing squad players. I agree. You should be signing players that are better than what you have, and then the current players become your squad players. That's how I see it. But maybe I'm on my own there. This is the name, though, and you can touch on this name and then say what you think about what Paul said. But Natalie's sources now. One of Natalie's source has said that, yeah, it's looking good. But then Gemma Evans came up, so yeah. She does love United. She's a United fan. If you look for her tweets, glory, glory, Man United all the way through. She actually praised United fans at the Arsenal game, saying that's what proper football and that's what we want. And apparently she's been doing Facebook Lives and all this stuff that I don't do, just saying how much she wants to come to Old Trafford. All this, yeah, laying it on thick. We're ready for her, man. We want her. Can you see her coming? And then what do you think of what Paul's saying? Like, understand signing young players and stuff, but really we should be signing better than the first team, and the first team becomes a squad.
I mean, I know the United fan thing's a nice angle, and like people want United fans at the club, but me and you are United fans now. It doesn't mean that Mark is going to sign us. So I'll be honest, like, I haven't heard anything about Lucy Parker to Man United, and I think the younger players, they have different priorities. Like Lucy knows that she needs to play. Um, Maya made that sort of calculated risk last year, sort of at a similar age, but for me, a better player. That she was going to play because United needed a centre back. Maya was always planned as a starting player, whereas, like I said, now with that starting partnership of Maya and Millie, like you have to sign something very good to shift one of those two out. And Lucy Parker isn't going to gain anything by going and sitting on the bench. So I haven't heard anything. That I really haven't. I haven't heard a link with Man United. I haven't really heard a link with any of the top clubs yet this summer. I think she just needs to play. For me, I think have another year at West Ham. Obviously, they need to sort of decide what route they're going down in terms of the head coach and things like that. But yeah, I mean, I know you speak to a lot of people, but I haven't heard anything in terms of Lucy.
This is what I want to say. She played as a DM at Old Trafford. She can play DM and centre back. She could probably even play fullback. Maybe she doesn't want to be that kind of utility player. Maybe she wants to be set in at centre back. But Cascarino, she came in at 6. She can play centre back as well. We heard when she was signed, it was sort of a bit of confusion. Is she permanent? Is she not? It sounded like it was an option to buy. She's, like you said, it'll run out at the end of the thing. So who will announce what? Will Paris announce that she's coming back? Will we announce that she's gone back? Sort of the same. But I think by this time with Brun, we had already heard, like, yeah, she's not staying. Whereas with Cascarino, ain't no one know. So what do you know? Because we're running it through. Like I said, we've talked about centre back. Central midfield, number 6. We heard a number 6 was linked, but then that was poo-pooed. But then, we do know that, I think with what's happening with the takeover, it's frustrating and elongating processes. Maybe it's as well with the people that we know that the thing, but it is elongating it. It's elongating it for the men. Martin Lopez, we know that players want clarity. They want to be able to sign. I'm not saying that she was linked because I don't know. The agent said it wasn't, but we know that Martin would come Man United. We know that, if it was there. So that's a 6 that was sort of linked through Spanish. And then, like you say, Lucy can play, right back. She's 3 positions. Is Casca staying? Could you see another one coming in? Tell the people.
I could definitely see a midfielder coming in. I don't think it'd be Cascarino. I think it was an odd one, really. Like, it sort of looked like a good sort of experience signing, but I think it was to sort of fill a hole till the end of the season, which is obviously why they did it just as a loan. But yeah, I think we should go back to PSG. So, but I think United would like to add a midfielder. I don't know who, but again, I think with midfield.
Can we talk about midfielder? Would it be a 6 or would it be a 10? Because we're also hearing rumours about Vilda, and for me, that doesn't make no sense. I'm ready to fight Mark if he's ready to fight me, because for me, Vilda Bororisa is our best midfielder, and I don't care what no one says. You show me them stats. If that girl, every time she's played, she is the best player on the park. So for me, it makes no sense that we know that Vilda was. We all know on this chat, 88 people watching, 100 odd people watching. We know that Vilda's the best, and that's no disrespect to Katie or this or that or Tooney. Vilda's the best, yeah? And she's not respected the way that she should be. I mean, I can already see Vilda, Lisa, Carolyn. I can see it. I want it. So why is it not happening? And where do you think it is going to be that they're going to sign it? Is it going to be a 6 or is it going to be a 10? Come.
I think the Vilda thing is, I don't know. Well, I kind of get where Mark's coming from when he says he's tired of answering questions, because I feel like I probably answered just as many about her in terms of on this podcast. But like I've said it before, I'll say it again. Like, they value her, yeah, but there are things in her game that don't suit the way Mark wants to play, and that's the reality. That is literally the reality. She's been there 2 years now, and she hasn't become a first team player yet. So at some point, you have to look at it and go, well, when is she going to? I don't think they want to sell her.
Manager.
I don't think they want to sell her, but at the end of the day, like, if she's not going to fit into a head coach's plans permanently, then you sort. Look, this happens. She was unfortunate in that she was probably one of the last things Casey did, obviously before she left, and you get a new head coach comes in with a completely different way of playing. Some players unfortunately just don't fit into that, and I think Vilda can be a very good, player in certain games and play, and have a use, but obviously it's how long she's sort of happy to do that. So I think the midfield for United is interesting because it's sort of unspectacular on paper, but it's very effective in the way it works. I don't think there was many games, even the big games, where United were overrun in midfield. Even the FA Cup final, I thought the midfield had the better of Chelsea until Pernille Harder came on. Hayley Ladd, I said it at the time when Man United signed Hayley Ladd, I thought it'd be one of the best signings that they made. Katie Zellerman, obviously, not everyone's a massive fan, but she plays a very important role. And yeah, Ella was probably, I think Ella took a bit of time to get back up to speed this season, but she's a very good player. Like, as your number 10, I think it's going to take somebody good. I know people get bored of it, and Mark talks about our balance in midfield and things like that, but it's important. Like, the midfield, I always say, the midfield is the most important part of your team, and you need it to be balanced. You need the 6, the 8, the 10 to all play their own specific roles. You need them to all have that link, and I think whoever they decide to bring in, if they're going to walk into that midfield, they have to A, be a very good player, but they also B, have to offer that same balance and that same partnerships that the three of them offer now. I think, yeah, I mean, look, the speculation's always interesting, and it's going to happen more and more. Like, obviously, people are saying Maitan Lopez was going to happen and she was going to come in, and then, I spoke to the agent and he said, no, we've had no contact whatsoever from Man United. So, yeah, look, that's the thing now with transfer windows. You're going to get a lot of that. In the men's game, I mean, Man United probably get linked to 300 players every day. So you'd have a big squad if you signed all those players. So,
Well, let's talk about it though, because I think RC put here he lost hope for Vilda when he put Williams in the 10, and he did this a couple of times, and it was against Chelsea. And I'm thinking, Rachel Williams isn't a 10. Like, let's be serious. And if we're going to play against Paris, Wolfsburg, whoever, Roma, we cannot be doing this kind of silliness. And I just, Joe saying, hey, don't think Mark has ever rated Vilda. And I do. I just don't think he has. Because if you rate Vilda, you would not bring a number 9 on in the 10 position. I mean, it was the worst at Kingsmeadow. Kingsmeadow was embarrassing. I was embarrassed. And I felt sorry for Rachel making a play at a 10. But, yeah. Have you got anything to add on that or no?
No, I think Rach is very effective in certain situations. Like, I didn't actually see the game at Kingsmeadow. I saw the cup final, obviously, and I didn't really think she came on as a 10, personally. I thought she sort of went and played sort of up with the striker. I think they wanted to get a bit more physicality in the box, which is kind of what Rach offers, and obviously that composure in front of goal, which he showed obviously against Reading in the last minute, against Brighton in the last minute in the semi-final. And yeah, look, you always need improvements. Gosh, you do. If you're going to go in the Champions League and you want to compete even with Wolfsburg and PSG or Real Madrid, Juventus, whoever they get, and obviously if they got through that into the group stage, yeah, of course you need a higher caliber of player. That's United's challenge, and that comes back to sort of what I said before, in the squad-wise, they'll always be playing catch-up. They don't have what Chelsea have. They don't have what Arsenal have, and I think that's why I was so adamant, in saying that actually they had a really good season, because I sat here at the start of the year, Nat, and I won't hide away from it. I said I thought they'd finish fourth, and then obviously, yeah, look, of course, certain circumstances come into it in terms of what happened with Arsenal and the injuries, and obviously you never know what, but at the end of the day, that's not Man United's fault. If Arsenal get key injuries, then Arsenal have to look at that themselves. United kept their key players fit, and they you can't take that away from United.
I've always said, yeah, Ibby, Carl, these are the people that we need to give flowers to as well, because they're the ones who kept them fit. I think even Mark shouted them out on the podcast, and are keeping players fit. Like you're saying, you can't take it away because it matters. And this is where, if anything, Alessia, she go into Arsenal. Is she going to, because she's not someone she gets injuries a lot, but listen, let's not get into that. It is that kind of thing in it where, it's not, they need to upgrade, in my opinion, technically. That's where it is. I mean, Rachel, they're all great, yeah, and they'll all fight to the end, but we need technical. And this is where I suppose I'm going to go in with this girl. What do you know about this girl? Because some people are saying we need to compensate for Honor, because I think Honor did a lot, but we do need someone like Brutz. I've seen people saying, what's her face? Katie Robinson. What do you think, I suppose, in terms of that winger? Are we going to get one? Because I know even Hansen, people were saying earlier, Hansen showed, but is Hansen going to come and play straight away? I don't know, because he'll probably rotate them in. Lucia, we need more from her. I think she did really well. I don't think she's getting her flowers enough. But then this, Clinton, I do want to touch on it, because for me, she is, if we are going to sell Vilda, that's my girl, man. I want to see her then playing. Or I know she wants to play, so will she go out on loan? Boom. All three. 2 wingers and Clinton. Tell us.
You threw a lot of positions and players at me there, Nat. Who do you want me to start with?
Robinson, because I've seen this. And Hansen. Wingers, just tell us, do you think?
Yeah, I think with the wingers, I think United are pretty well set. Like, obviously, like you say, you've got Lucia and Nikita Paris on one side. You've obviously got Leah Galton on the other. You've got Kirsty Hansen coming back that can kind of play either. I don't believe Hansen is going. I think she will stay at Man United unless they got a ridiculous offer. I think the whole long-term plan was always she was going to go on loan last season and then come back, a better player, and probably the loan, I know some people criticised it at the time, but, I don't think United, I think it worked for everyone because United didn't really miss her. They didn't really struggle out on the wings. They didn't struggle for creating chances. Lucia scored 8 goals primarily off the bench. Leah was the joint top scorer. Leah got as many goals as Alessia Russo. So, whereas Kirsty went and, absolutely thrived, I don't think it could have gone any better for her. Obviously, it benefited Aston Villa massively to have her. So, yeah, I think, look, if you've got Galton, Paris, Garcia, Hansen, Martha Thomas obviously can play out on the wings, then I don't think you really need to recruit. I'll be honest, again, similar to Maitan Lopez, Lucy Parker, I have heard nothing to suggest there's any interest at the moment in Esme Broots. I know there was a lot of stories out there. I haven't heard it. I'll be honest, doesn't mean it's not happening, but I haven't heard it. I think with Katie Robinson, I think she's an interesting one. I'll be honest with you, and you can ask some of my colleagues this, probably a year, 18 months ago, I wasn't really on the Katie Robinson hype train. And I've watched her since, and I don't know whether she's just come on a lot this season or I just wasn't seeing it before, but I really like her. Like I watched her up close for England. I think it was the Italy game at Arnold Clark, and she was so good. Like she was really, really good. And I think there's a few clubs at the minute that are sort of in the the sort of the monitoring stage with Katie Robinson because she's under contract, obviously at Brighton. I think Brighton are pretty adamant she's not for sale. But again, you can say every player has their price, but I don't think they want to sell her. I don't think they intend on selling her. And for United and for other clubs, Man City, have been said to have shown interest. City's another one. They don't really need a winger. They've got Kelly, they've got Hem. Jess Park's going back there. So I think there's clubs looking, but I think something would have to happen for them to make that move now because she'd command a fee and she'd command a big fee. And when it's a position that you don't necessarily need a player in, I don't think a club's going to go out and spend a part of their budget on that player. So I think with Robinson, unless something massively changes, which it can do, it's the transfer window. It's like things change all the time. But I think she'll be a name to look at in 12 months' time. But another one like Lucy Parker, she needs to be playing football. She needs to be playing. The fact that she's been playing this year is why she's got in the England squad. So I think for her, the sensible thing is stay at Brighton. They really picked up under Mel at the end of last season. They're being pretty ambitious with their recruitment. Obviously, they signed Paulina Bremer yesterday. So, yeah, I think if I was Katie Robinson, I'd stay where I was. Or if I was a big club throwing money at it, then I'd maybe sign her and loan her back out. But I think for United, a winger is not a massive priority at the minute.
But this is the question from Lot: does Hanson want to stay? And for me, I think we saw the best Hanson because she played week in, week out. There's sometimes I went down and I thought, oh well, not in her way to her. All due respect, that's why she's playing. But then she sort of, I think it was after Christmas, she sort of shot, and I think it's because Carla put that arm around her, told her she's the best, this and that. I think you have to watch Hanson. Remember, people, I've watched her week in, week out since 2018, pretty much. And she is that player that needs that. There's nothing wrong with it. Confidence player. And Wardy, I think, gives her that confidence. I know you love him, but I don't think Mark's the kind of manager who is a. I think players have to have their own confidence. And I do believe that because I think, Vicky's saying it, one area he does rotate is the subs. I mean, I saw John saying something, Hanson, and yeah, it would because Leah scored a lot of goals, so maybe and that's where actually Hanson did play. She played on that left. Do you think that you will see I don't think she'll fully put in a transfer request, but I do think she will want to play and she'll want some kind of guarantee because, like you said, she's coming back going, I made player of the year. I know she didn't, but she was in that list. She had the most assists out of everyone. I'm seeing her stats coming up every minute and she's in them. And she'll want to say, listen, I'm staying here, yeah, but what's going on, who's going to play? And I know he's come out and said this and that rotation, but, he said rotation on the basis that we get to the group stage as well. Let's be serious. If God forbid we do pull a Man City, which I hope we don't, then that goes down the pan, really, rotation. Just do what he's done. Your thoughts, Rich?
Yeah, I mean, there'll still be rotation, but it'll be rotation against, Sheffield United or Sunderland or Durham, which is, not quite as glamorous, obviously, as the Champions League group stage. So, yeah, I think Hanson does want to stay. And every player wants to. This is the beauty of football now. Every player wants to play, and you have a squad of like 25 players, and 2/3 of them can't play every week. And I think with I really like her. I really do. And you mentioned Grace Clinton. I really like Grace Clinton. I've been a massive fan of her for a few years. But are they better than what's in front of them? Is Kirsty Hanson better than Lucia Garcia to start every week? Is she better than Leah Dalton to start every week? So, yeah, you need to rotate. And look, you're fortunate, like I said, as a winger, as a forward. you're always the likelier ones to get rotated week in, week out. That sort of right wing position was probably the one spot that did kind of get rotated a little bit. Sometimes it was Paris, sometimes it was Garcia, whereas the other 10 were always sort of quite set in stone. Um, so yeah, look, she wants to play, of course she does. So go back in there and prove yourself. At the end of the day, look, United have players away at the World Cup. Kirsty Hansen won't be one of them, so she's got a good chance to go back in there, have a proper pre-season. Lucia obviously not around for Spain, so there'll be good competition there for them to put them together. Her, Garcia, Galton, Parish, none of them are going to the World Cup, so it'll be a good comparison for them with pre-season games to sort of see where she's at and then come back fresh at the start of the season and see what's what. But yeah, look, it doesn't guarantee you anything to walk back in there and suddenly start. United have good players, and yeah, if she can prove she's better than Garcia or she can prove that she's better than Galton, then she'll have a chance. But I still think she'll get a fair share of games because, like you say, if you're a winger or you're a forward and you're not starting, you're always guaranteed to at least come off the bench and obviously you probably start. If there is rotation, you'll be one of the ones to come in. So yeah, I think at the minute Kirsty will definitely be a United player next year, and she's got to take that extra momentum and that extra confidence back with her. But you want competition. That at the end of the day, that's what you guys have been crying out for, and it's what we talked about so much last summer, that United didn't have the depth, they didn't have the options to make changes like that. And if you go into a season and you've got Lucia Garcia, Leah Galton, Kirsty Hansen, Nikita Paris as your wing options, that's pretty strong.
No, actually, I do agree with what you're saying there. I forgot about the whole World Cup, this and that, but to be honest, most of our wingers aren't at the World Cup because Paris ain't at the World Cup either. So I don't know. But listen, this is where I do want to touch. I mean, we sort of touched on Clinton, but Jones and Fuso, are they coming back? And I was told Fuso was coming back, but I don't know. Jones, another one in there, Tara Bourne. What do you know about these young players? Because, like you said, we've touched a bit, haven't we, at the start? Kira Barry, the slowness with it, and the not getting a contract. For me, that's unacceptable. These are the players for the future. Especially Barry. I see her. I mean, I'm glad they signed up Ahern, but Barry and Ahern, those. If anyone watches the 21 team, they are like firecrackers. Ahern especially. But for me, not to sign up Barry, it just doesn't make sense. But yeah, Jones, Fuso, Barry, young players, even Evie, Clinton. What do you see him doing with these young players now? Because we've got 100 young players, It's all about the young players, and I thought they were doing well. I thought that, young players would go out on loan. Jess Simpson, Saf got a lot of loan. Even, they were doing quite well with the Neve, Chloe. We know that Neve's going, Ella's going. But, they're doing quite well with the dual things, and now they've signed a lot of them on, because we've seen we're now going to get compensation. A lot of them are getting signed up on contracts. Is it just a money-making scheme, these things now? Are they just looking to do this to have money? Are they going to play these kids? What's going on, Rich? Tell us.
Yeah, look, it's that horrible balance again, isn't it? Like, you always want to see young players come through. Like, I get it. Like, and I've seen that at Chef, and it's a little bit different with us because it's a bit easier in terms of we can't go out and sign big first team players all the time. We've had to rely on your Lucy Watsons and your Mia Endebys and people like that. And you love seeing 16, 17-year-olds come through and play in your first team, but the reality is not. We talked about some big players. We talked about players like Caroline and whatnot, and the two sort of don't go hand in hand. Like, if you sign your players like Caroline, for example, it makes it harder for Alessia Ahern, it makes it harder for Kira Barry, it makes it harder for people like Grace Clinton and whatnot, and you can't kind of have it both ways. Like, I really like Grace Clinton, I do. I don't know what the plan is with her. I think she'd benefit from a proper loan, like a full season one, but in the WSL. Like obviously, last year she went down to the Championship. For me, I think Grace Clinton's too good for the Championship. I'd be looking at, even if you went back to Bristol, obviously with Bristol being in the WSL now, or I don't know, a Brighton, a Tottenham, a West Ham, someone like that, where she get decent game time. I think they keep Evie Rabjohn around, and just see how she develops, and obviously might get some games in the cup and whatnot. And then I don't know whether they look maybe at a loan in January like they did with Grace last year, where they sort of wanted to keep her around and get her fit and whatnot. I think with the really younger ones, like the academy players, it's so hard now. We just talked about the wing options and the forward options, and Kira Barry, I've not really seen much of them. Obviously, they both came on. I think they both came on against us last year and we played you in the Conti Cup, but obviously that's a bit of a different marker point than playing against Man City or playing against Chelsea, for example. But, you talk about Hansen and Paris and Garcia and Galton, these are senior international players that, like you say, Hansen was nominated for Player of the Year, Garcia is a Spain international, Keats has played for top clubs, played for England. Galton obviously hasn't, but, would have done if she'd wanted to. So it's hard for them. They're not at that level yet. I know, people want their kids to succeed and you get a little bit blinded because obviously they go and do so well at academy level, but they're playing against kids their own age. I think the best thing for so many of them is just keep going on loan. I think the Kira Barry situation, I think probably the agent leaking to sort of just tell Man United, look, we want to stay. She wants to stay. Get on with it, kind of thing. And obviously that comes back to the conversation that we had earlier. So I'd still be a little bit surprised if she left. I think it'd be pretty negligent on United's part. But for these players to progress into the first team, you have to be something. You have to be a Lauren James, like an absolute generational talent who can go and play in the first team at 16, 17. It's really hard. It's really, but and I said this. I think I said this last year, Nat, and we talked about this. Is when academy players come through, they don't necessarily need to play for your football club. Kira Barry or Alessia Ahern or whoever, Eva Rabjohn, Grace Clinton. If they train at United and they improve and they develop that way and they go and have a career, in the lower end of the WSL and they do well, they might end up back at a top club. Or if they go and play in the Championship, you can have a good career in the Championship now. Most of the Championship teams are full time. You thrive in the Championship, you might get promoted. If not, you might get a move to a WSL team. So, it's about developing them the right way and then obviously making the decision on whether they're going to be good enough for you. But the reality is when you're at a top club, it's going to be so hard for those kids to...
Let's cut the chase, though, Rich, about devs and academy players. This ain't Man City where you can cut your devs and no one cares. This is, like you say, negligence. That's the word that we'll use. Barry should be signing at Man United. If she's not, what's going wrong? Because my guy Paul is saying it here. It's the DNA. I don't care about who we have. Man United must. There's no questions about it. Yeah, go and do that at Chelsea and Arsenal. No one cares there. We care here. Yeah, we love them as much as we love our first team. So you better just, yeah, I agree. Agent, yeah, hurry up. Sam Barnett and all these silly men that are ruining my football club. But yeah, listen, I just want to touch back. Sorry, Rich, I'm cutting you off and I'm cutting in. But listen, I want to touch back on one player, a forward. Hey, she's not Ghanaian, but she's Nigerian. So thank you. The love from Ghana. Drop a like on it. She's been linked all the time. Every year I hear her name. Oshwala. Talk to us.
Again, I've not heard anything to suggest that she's a target. I think these names just sort of come up out of different places and yeah, I don't know where people actually get it from.
What I will say,
I mean, Barcelona
they want to sell.
Sign
They want to
number
sell
nine.
a player. They want to
let
sell
us go.
forwards. That's what I've heard. That is come out of Spain. They want to sell forward, and her name was there. I saw it.
Yeah, I don't think Oshwala will be a Man United player.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Listen, Sporty, he had a question for you, Rich. How confident that you have a better squad than this season?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think there's not going to be major changes in terms of obviously you look at the backbone of the team that played regularly. Mary's going to be there. You know, Maya, Millie, Hannah, they're in place. You've obviously got Jade Riviere as your right back, which I think is probably not the next best thing to honour in terms of someone who's one of the best right backs in the world now, but I sort of look at Jade as sort of what Honor was 2 years ago when she arrived, in terms of she had the potential to go to that level, and I think Jade does. Like, I think it's probably gone under the radar a little bit, but I think that was a really good catch for Man United to get her, because she did have interest from quite a lot of clubs. Your midfield's in place in terms of Haley, Katie Zeller, Melatoon. You know, Galton's in place, Garcia's in place. You know, Paris is in place, etc. I think the biggest thing is how you replace the goals. You know, how you replace Russo. If you got Caroline, you know, it'd be a massive signing. Um, so yeah, I think the overall squad is an interesting view in terms of the depth and the squad players that come in, and I think you have to sign someone very good to sort of go into that first 11, because look, it's not, maybe on paper it's not the most exciting starting 11 to look at, but it worked. Like, they got it to work, and you know, United were never really outclassed. You know, maybe the last half an hour of the home game against Chelsea, I think even the away game, they weren't massively overrun. You know, the two Arsenal games, they won both of them. City, they got 4 points out of six, and you know, they didn't lose to anyone else. The only two games they lost all season was Chelsea, and obviously Chelsea in the cup final as well. And I think if that's your benchmark, it's not a bad benchmark, because they are one of the best teams in the world. So I don't think it's a team that needs like major surgery. I just think it needs just that little bit of extra quality, you know, every year now, and build slowly on it. And but yeah, look, United have to. It's all well and good coming out and saying you're ambitious and saying you want to spend money. Go and do it. You know, if you want to sign Caroline, go and do it, because it ain't just going to be you. You know, I saw the piece in Brazil. Obviously, like, you know, I don't know about Barcelona or Real Madrid or Chelsea or whoever, but look, we need a top scorer in one of the top leagues in the world, and you're sort of in the kind of form she is at the moment. And obviously, you've got a World Cup where, you know, she might go to the World Cup and light it up, and then your value goes up even more. So you've got to put your money where your mouth is, and say, you know, United have to sign a striker. They have to. You know, they cannot go into the season with someone with lesser ability than Russo. They have to sign somebody better, and that's going to cost money. So, you know, United have to show everyone that they're not, you know, with the reputation that they're getting of slow operators and, you know, a bit negligent of situations. They've got to go out and say, okay, we're going to say we're ambitious. We're going to sign these players that people are talking about.
Yeah, we need as well. I mean, I suppose we'll touch on this question, but I think you have touched on it when you came on before. I think you said about six. We do need, though. What I will say is, I know you're saying the midfield, this and that, blah blah blah. Yeah. I don't really rate. Not I don't rate them, but City, Arsenal. It's not for me. I think teams like, look at that, the qualifying who we could face: Paris, Madrid, Juventus, Leon. These are better than Man City and Arsenal. You know, I know Arsenal fans will say, "Oh, and this and that," but be serious. You know, Arsenal had no. You know, I think that midfield we do need an extra 10, an extra 6. And if you know, I see you laughing, but it's true, Rich. We need Champions League quality now. Caroline, boom, Champions League quality. I don't think Gemma Evans is a kind of player, no offence to her, that should be playing in the Champions League. Because if she was, she would have left Bristol and gone to Everton and then slowly built it up. It's hard, man. It's hard. You know, tuning. People are saying she's not really performed at the level that we can, but we've managed to just get through it, I think. And I think when you have that one game every week, and that's why I'm kind of happy we have a, you know, Wolfsburg as well. Everyone thought that Arsenal were going to go and just steamroll them. They didn't, you know? And that's what I think happens with English clubs. They underestimate. That's why I think Madrid have beaten City twice, because we underestimate these clubs. So what do you think? I suppose what I've said here. But yeah, we do need players to step up and have the best seasons. Two needs one. Lucia, we need to step up again, but why not adding quality to help them step up? That's
I
what I'm
think
saying.
I think I think you yeah. I mean, I think you're daft if you go and underestimate a team like Real Madrid or Juventus, Wolfsburg, PSG, BK Hacken, whoever it is that they end up playing. You can't. Can United compete? Like, yeah, on the day, I think they can. But yeah, you need that extra quality. And yeah, it comes back to what I said: put your money where your mouth is. You can come out and say we're ambitious. Mark can come out and say that we need to shop in the top market, and we want to do this and we want to do that. But you got to go and do it. And I say it every year, and I say it about every single manager in the world, whether it's people obviously talking about Gareth Taylor at the moment and whether he should still be at Man City and things like that. Matt, you've got to, you live and die by your decisions. At the end of the day, if Matt Skinner wants to go out and sign Gemma Evans and take the flak for it, well, fair enough, but you've got to prove that it's the right thing to do and that you know what you're doing. And, that has to be whether you sign players fans like or don't like, whether that's Gemma Evans, whether it's a Brazilian international, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the manager's the manager. They set the tone, and they easily take the credit for it when it goes right. But you've got to take the criticism when it goes wrong. And this season, for Mark, for Martin, for Charlotte, for everybody, it went right. But it doesn't mean it's always going to go right. Arsenal will have their star players back. They'll have Miedemar, they'll have Mead, they'll have Russo, Chloe Lacasse as well, obviously being linked from Benfica. Man City have had a bit of a transitional year. They'll get it together. I think they do play good football on the day. So yeah, United can't sit back and just go, "Oh, we had a great season. We finished second. We qualified for the Champions League and got to an FA Cup final." If they do that, they'll be out of the top. You can be out of the top three easy next season if you rest on your laurels, because Arsenal and Man City are good teams with good players. So yeah, I always say, and you can't, I can't believe it. The transfer window still hasn't actually opened, despite the fact we've been talking about transfers for so long, and it doesn't shut for like 11 weeks or something like that. So there's a long way to go, and the conversation that we have in September might be very different to what we have now. But if by the end of the summer the squad's not better and they haven't gone out and got a top striker or whatever, then there'll be questions being asked, the same questions that have been levelled at them the last week or so about the negotiations, about being slow with agents and things like that. If they do go out and get them, you say credit where credit's due, but we're not going to know that until September the 14th.
I do think they will go out and get Carolyn or someone, at these levels. I do think they will, but it's Gemma Evans needs to be better. We can do better than Gemma Evans, and this is where then it worries me. Is it even a Mark signing, or is it like what my guy here is saying? They're being pushed into a way. We know it with the men's team. They're being pushed down a road where they're not able to spend the money that they want to be able to. Whoever's doing it, whether it's Joe Glazer, Andy Boyle, Sam Bennett, are they sort of penny pinching their way to saying, well, like I said, they weren't even interested. What Emma Sanders says, they weren't interested until they realised they could get her on a free, and this is the kind of thing. Sell to Cara, get a player on half the wages. And, I'm afraid a lot of people are worried about the men and the women until the Glazers get out. You'll see that, Rich. And I feel like now with what's happened with what they're talking about with the money and that, people will be saying this is Glazonomics. This is Glazonomics. This is how they work. And, I do think that they are going to match ambitions. But, Mark left Birmingham. Here you go. As they didn't match ambitions. We're hearing frustrations from, hey, Carolyn, we love her, man. Sweet Carolyn. Ba, ba, ba. Listen, we're hearing stuff from Ten Hag that he's frustrated. So I do think that Mark needs to come out a bit more and be a bit more in their face and saying things he does. And I really appreciated when he said it the first year, we need investment. Look at Sam Kerr got their investment. We do need that. But you know, we know that the way the glazing works, the glazonomics, the suffocating, and it does need to get better, doesn't it? You know, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, me and you are both Man United fans. We know all about obviously the Glazers and the situation at the club, and I think to be fair, at least they're equal in terms of sort of what they do with the men and what they do with the women in terms of taking too long over things or penny pinching or whatever. I think it's less so on the women because obviously you're talking about much lower fees than obviously things that are going around now for like Mason Mount or whoever. We're talking about 60, 70 million pounds. So I think it affects the women less in terms of obviously like the fees and the wages you're talking about are a lot less. But I don't think a club would ever sign a player over the manager's head. I think at the end of the day, the manager gets final say on who the club decide to go for because at the end of the day, it's their team. They set the philosophy, and I think, yeah, look, Mark's come out in interviews and said, we need investment and we want to shop in the upper markets and things like that. So go and do it. Go and prove that you can do it. Go and prove that you can do it, A, as a manager, but B, as a club as well. That, like I said, United need that marquee name. They need that Caroline or whoever. And A, because they need a striker desperately, but B, because, yeah, they need to be taken seriously. If they go and get a player like that, who's currently the NWSL top scorer, people stand up and go, ooh. And not just that, but, agents and everyone behind the scenes sits back and go, okay, they can negotiate. They can go out, the people behind the scenes, whoever it is, they can go out and
This is
get
what
this.
I want to talk about, though, Rich. Here, this Arsenal fans coming in our DMs, coming in our chat, coming on the show called Only One United to laugh at Man United. Look, good luck. Do you think she'll join you? Why are you here, Zoe? Why are you here? No one asked you to join this chat, but you've come out your way to join on here to post shit about shit you don't know. That's what you've done. And that's what I can't understand in the women's game. Because don't we want good players? That's what I was told. Remember, Rich, the first day we came in, I was told everyone supports everyone. And I've never been supported in anything as a Man United fan. They just want to see us fail. They're desperate, mate. Arsenal clinging on to every little thing to see us fail. And this is what they need to realise. Because she's doubting your sources here, Rich, Are you sure it's going to happen? Well, whoever you are, we don't care. You've come on here to cause trouble. I don't understand it. She's doubting your sources, Rich.
I mean, look, it's football's a funny thing in terms of that. Like, sometimes you get things right, sometimes you get things wrong. Yeah, I'm absolutely confident that United's interest in Caroline is real, as is probably interest from other teams. This is the thing, like you say, teams have an interest in someone. You're not actually saying they're signing them. I'm not sat here saying Man United are going to sign Caroline because it's hard. It's hard to go out and do it. That's why you've got to put the effort in. But yeah, I'm 100% confident in saying that they want to. But yeah, like I said before, you've got to go and put your money where your mouth is. So yeah, we'll see. United are a Champions League team now. That they have to shop in that top market, or else they're not going to get anywhere. And the reality is, if they don't, they won't be back in the Champions League next season because City will come hard, Arsenal will, with their players back. So you can never stand still. Chelsea don't. That's the thing. Chelsea win every season. They go out, they win the league. They've won the league 4 years in a row, and they go out and they sign top players. Emma Hayes doesn't care. Not me wrong. Like they're a little bit different in terms of, I mean, their owner just throws money around like it's monopoly money at the moment. But at the end of the day, they don't stand. They don't go, okay, we've won the league, we've won the FA Cup. We're not going to do anything. They go out straight away. Boom. Shoki Newsgood, Katerina Macario, Hannah Hampton, Ashley Lawrence. Obviously, has been strongly linked as well, and that's what you got to do. Because Chelsea don't look at the league and the cup as just saying, well, that's what they want to do. They want to win the Champions League, which they haven't done yet. So, look, you can never stand still. United cannot afford to get to the end of this window with a striker that is not as good as the one that they've lost. You know, they have to go out and sign someone that will score at least 10 goals next season, if not more. If they do, they've got a good chance because the rest of the team that succeeded this year is still in place. But you've got to keep evolving. You've always got to keep evolving. You can't stand still. You know, Arsenal have already improved the team. You know, Chelsea have already improved the team. City sounds like they're going to have a quietish summer and sort of just try and evolve what they had last season. But yeah, United can't stand still. You can't just sit back and you know if you get to the end of the window and they've signed Carolyn, you say well done. If they haven't, you sit back and go okay, well who did they get? Because they'll have a you know no team just has one target in every position. They'll have backups who might not be as good, but yeah. You know, when you come out and say you're ambitious, you've got to prove it.
Sweet Caroline, ba ba ba. Good times never seem so good, so good, so good. That's gonna be the song, mate. Yep. Are you ready for it, Rich? Are you gonna join in?
I mean, you've got to sign it first. No, I won't. I won't be. I won't be joining in. But yeah, you've got to. You've got to
Sweet
go out and get her.
Caroline, ba ba ba. Listen, that's the song, mate. We'll take the Lioness songs. Since they take our songs, we'll take theirs. Listen, I just want to say thank you for everyone. 80 people constantly. It's been up and down, 80, 100, this kind of people. Drop the like on it. Drop the like on it because they're going to keep coming. I've got who have I got? Catherine back on next week. We're going to go through what she knew about Honor, what she knew about this, what she knows about Robinson, all these things. And I suppose she did name Polly and the same people that we've been naming. But we're ready for Carolyn. You know, we're ready for her. And yeah, like you say, we just got to go out and get it. Rich, is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I think whenever the next time we do a podcast, things will have probably changed again and progressed again. So yeah, that's football. Like things are changing all the time, and yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the summer develops really, and yeah, I'm interested to see what United end up looking like come September.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Yeah, I'll voice note it and send it you, John. Him singing the Sweet Caroline. Yeah. So yeah, we spilled the tea. We've heard about who's signing contracts. We've heard about who we're linked to. You know, listen, drop the like. Yeah, Brasilia. That's who we are. Sweet Caroline. Samba, samba, samba. Wow. See you later, guys.